Hello and welcome back to my series on the Romanovs. Today we're going to talk about the third Romanov Tsar, Feodor III, son of Alexei. Just as he'd been carried to his father's deathbed, Feodor also had to be carried behind the coffin at his father's funeral. New Tsar was 14 and was crowned in 1676. This weakness that he had was due to his body being riddled with scurvy. But what his body lacked in strength, his mind made up for with intelligence. He was said to be very enlightened. He founded the Academy of Sciences and even challenged the court norms of place priority. He had a strong knowledge of Polish and Latin, which is rather unusual for a prince of Russia. And the woman who would become his wife was also well educated. On Palm Sunday of 1680, Feodor met a beautiful woman in a procession named Agafia Grushetskaya. And while her beauty was noteworthy, he was more enamored by the fact that she was very intelligent, spoke multiple languages, and even played the harpsichord. After a rigorous bridal screening process, Feodor eventually married Agafia. Within the next year, she gave birth to a son. Tragically, both the mother and the son passed away within a week of the birth. This plunged the young Tsar into a deep depression, and the timings couldn't have been worse. The Ottoman forces were drawing closer to the border of Kiev, and the Russian military commanders, largely composed of boyars, were completely at odds with each other, to the point where they nearly cost Russia defeat in war. As a result, Feodor declared that the devil had implanted the idea of precedence. He abolished the Mesnichestvo system. This was a system that had allowed boyar clans to gain specific posts by seniority or by nobility rather than merit. He also famously burned pedigree books and declared that appointments would be made by skill and at the discretion of the Tsar. Feodor was also determined that he needed to find another bride. Even though he was greatly mourning his first wife, he wanted to ensure that there was a peaceful succession. He married his second wife, Marfa Apraxina, in 1682, but all was not well in the court. One spring day in 1682, a regiment of musketeers were protesting. They were protesting to the chief of musketeers' office that their wages had not been paid. Meanwhile, Fyodor, who had been struggling on his deathbed, passed away at the age of 21. The news of his death would kindle an uprising in Moscow, known as the Moscow Uprising of 1682. The throne was then supposed to go to Fyodor's two younger brothers, or two sons of Tsar Alexei. This was meant to create joint ownership between the sons because each son had been born of a different marriage of Tsar Alexei. And in the meantime, Tsar Fyodor's sister Sophia took power. Tune in next time to learn about Sophia, the regent of Russia for 7 years, who is also referred to as the Bogatyr Tsarevna.